Well, this is more to the question of what Wikipedia looks like in 1,000 years. What do you think is the meaning of this whole thing? Why are we here? Human civilization. What's the meaning of life?
Yeah, I don't think there is an external answer to that question.
And I should mention that there's a very good Wikipedia page on the different philosophies of the meaning of life.
Oh, interesting. I have to read that and see what I think. Hopefully it's neutral and gives a wide...
It's a really good reference to a lot of different philosophies about meaning. The 20th century philosophy in general, from Nietzsche to the existentialists to Simone de Beauvoir, all of them have an idea of meaning. They really struggle with it systematically, rigorously, and that's what the page... And obviously a shout out to the Hitchhiker's Guide and all that kind of stuff.
No, so I think there's no external answer to that. I think it's internal. I think we decide what meaning we will have in our lives and what we're going to do with ourselves. And so when I think, if we're talking about 1,000 years, millions of years, Yuri Milner wrote a book. He's a big internet investor guy. He wrote a book advocating quite strongly for humans exploring the universe and getting off the planet. And he funds projects to send using lasers to send little cameras and interesting stuff. And he talks a lot in the book about meaning. It's like his view is that the purpose of the human species is to broadly survive and get off the planet. Well, I don't agree with everything he has to say, because I think that's not a meaning that can motivate most people in their own lives. It's like, okay, great. The distances of space are absolutely enormous. So I don't know should we build generation ships to start flying places? Well, I can't do that. And I'm not, even if I'm Elon Musk and I could devote all my wealth to build it, I'll be dead on the ship on the way. So is that really meaning? But I think it's really interesting to think about, and reading his little book. It's quite a short little book. Reading his book, it did make me think about, wow, this is big. This is not what you think about in your day-to-day life. Is where is the human species going to be in 10 million years? And it does make you sort of turn back to Earth and say, gee, let's not destroy the planet. We're stuck here for at least a while. And therefore we should really think about sustainability. And I mean 1 million year sustainability, and we don't have all the answers. We have nothing close to the answers. I'm actually excited about AI in this regard, while also bracketing, I understand there's also risks and people are terrified of AI, but I actually think it is quite interesting, this moment in time that we may have in the next 50 years to really, really solve some really long-term human problems, for example, in health. The progress that's being made in cancer treatment, because we are able to, at scale, model molecules and genetics and things like this. It's huge. It's really exciting. So if we can hang on for a little while and, certain problems that seem completely intractable today, like climate change, may end up being actually not that hard.
And we might be able to alleviate the full diversity of human suffering.
For sure, yeah.
And in so doing, help increase the chance that we can propagate the flame of human consciousness out towards the stars. And I think another important one, if we fail to do that, for me, is propagating and maintaining the full diversity and richness and complexity and expansiveness of human knowledge. So if we destroy ourselves, it would make me feel a little bit okay.
Yeah,
if the human knowledge
just triggered me to say something really interesting, which is when we talked earlier about translating and using machines to translate, we mostly talked about small languages and translating into English, but I always like to tell this story of, it's something inconsequential really, but I was in Norway, in Bergen, Norway, where every year they've got this annual festival called Buekor, which is young groups drumming, and they have a drumming competition. It's the 17 sectors of the city, and they've been doing it for a couple hundred years or whatever. They wrote about it in the 3 languages of Norway, And then from there, it was translated into English, into German, et cetera, et cetera. And so what I love about that story is what it reminds me is, like, this machine translation goes both ways. And like, when you talk about the richness and broadness of human culture, we're already seeing some really great pieces of this. So like Korean soap operas, really popular, not with me, but with people. And the ability to, you know, imagine taking a very famous, very popular, very well-known Korean drama. And now, I mean, and I literally mean now, we're just about there technologically, where we use a machine to redub it in English in an automated way, including digitally editing the faces so it doesn't look dubbed. Mm-hmm. And so suddenly you say, oh, wow, like here's a piece of, you know, it's the Korean equivalent of, maybe it's Friends as a comedy, or maybe it's Succession, just to be very contemporary. It's something that really impacted a lot of people and they really loved it. And we have literally no idea what it's about.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's like, wow, you know, like music, street music from wherever in the world can suddenly become accessible to us all in new ways. It's so cool.
It's really exciting to get access to the richness of culture in China, in the many different subcultures of Africa, South America.
One of my unsuccessful arguments with the Chinese government is by blocking Wikipedia, right? You aren't just stopping people in China from reading Chinese Wikipedia and other language versions of Wikipedia. You're also preventing the Chinese people from telling their story. So is there a small festival in a small town in China like Buekorp? I don't know. But by the way, the people who live in that village, that small town of 50,000, they can't put that in Wikipedia and get it translated into other places. They can't share their culture and their knowledge. And I think for China, this should be a somewhat influential argument, because China does feel misunderstood in the world. It's like, okay, well, there's one way. If you want to help people understand, put it in Wikipedia. That's what people go to when they want to understand.
And give the amazing, incredible people of China a voice.
Exactly.
Jimmy, I thank you so much. I'm such a huge fan of everything you've done.
Oh,
I
thank
keep
you.
saying
That's
Wikipedia.
really great.
I'm deeply grateful for Wikipedia. I love it. It brings me joy. I donate all the time. You should donate too. It's a huge honor to finally talk with you. This is amazing. Thank you so much for today.
Thanks for having me.